Yes, indeed, folks, you tune into Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Well, it wouldn't be a good week without drama in terms of the WoW community. By the WoW community, of course, I'm talking about the tiny vocal minority that hangs around the forums. Yeah. So, there is a new system coming into play. It's a looking for group system, a cross-realm looking for group system, in fact. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because I find it rather interesting. So, here's a brief overview of this. So, they're going to be adding a dungeons button in order to replace the current looking for group feature which is available in the game. Which, let's be honest, is awful. Now, the system has various highlights, including join as a group or solo. Right, so in other words, if you've got, 3 people, you can join the looking for group system as that group and then have 2 other people join you. Which kind of makes sense. Cross-realm instances and grouping. I mean, this is a huge deal, but we'll come on to this momentarily. Instance teleporting. In other words, apparently you will be teleported to the instance that you want to join. So, Warlock's probably crying or something there, I would imagine. Oh no, our utility! Our utility! You want to talk about utility? Talk about freaking polymorph never getting used anywhere! Talk about that as utility. Where's the blinking crowd control? Oh, there's that fight inside the plywood instance. Yes. We know, Blizzard. Congratulations, you made one fight that now uses crowd control. Now, you've only got, let's say, maybe 147 more in order to make up for the lack of fights that you've had. This expansion. Appalling. Anyway, smarter group matching. Okay, whatever that means. Daily random dungeons. Yay! Spin the wheel and see which dull piece of content you get to raid this time. It's exciting. It's new. It's intuitive. It literally is like gambling. The house always wins. You always lose and end up going out of there with significantly less time than you had before. That's the currency you spend. Get a couple of tokens that you can hand in for some kind of stuffed toy. Or maybe a plastic cactus. I don't know. Some kind of tacky little memento. Ugh. Repeat random dungeons. Great! We get to do them again! Why would you want to do that? Choose multiple dungeons. Okay, that's called vote kick system. Now, that is interesting. Vote kick system. You can vote out idiots, as opposed to, kicking out idiots as group leader. But that's kind of cool, because that means you can vote out the group leader. That's always nifty. It's funny that we haven't had anything like that until now, when you think about it. Basically, every multiplayer game that I know of has a vote kick system. Why? Because people can be relied, particularly in public games, upon being idiots. Total antisocial Asperger's touting idiots. No offense to anyone with Asperger's, but I must say that the majority of people online seem to act like that anyway, even if they don't have it. They're self-diagnosed. Ugh. Social rejects. Social hermits. Aggressive social hermits. Idiotic aggressive social hermits. Nasty. Lovin' the Pug bonuses. I'm sorry, Lovin' the Pug? Yeah. I can think of various connotations for that would not be pleasant. Anyway, let's not do that. Looking for raid. Yes, you can do the same thing with raids. Wonderful. Need before greed has been updated. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, this is interesting. This is very interesting. Now, what it involves is Need Before Greed is now going to recognize gear appropriate for a class in 3 ways. Firstly, the class must be able to equip the item. Pure melee will be unable to roll on spell power items, and classes are limited to their dominant armor type. For example, plate for paladins. All items will be available via greed rolls should no member be able to use the item, as well as the new disenchant option, which will be available for all parties. Now, those of you who don't know what the new disenchant option is, they are giving you the option. It's not so much the option, it's mandatory that disenchanting will be automatic. Yes, automatic disenchanting if you have an enchanter in the party when an item is not claimed by any player from within the loot window. And then it automatically rolls off the shard. Now, the reason it has this is apparently, because of the restrictions you have, if you're playing with cross-realm groups, in order to stop you from trading items across realms, and as such mucking about with the economy and so forth, they are not allowing you to trade anything with anyone that's not from your realm, unless it's some kind of temporary item. Say, like, food. Yeah? Mage food. Things like that. That makes complete sense. And I don't know, some people have been complaining about this, but a lot of people have also misread it. They've said, oh, well, it's going to ruin the utility of DE as... Well, no, it's not. Because you have to have a DE in the group in order for this option to even be available. It's far more convenient. You don't have to muck about with inventory space or anything like that. It's like we get to perform exactly the same role, and we're valued for exactly the same reason, and we don't have to do anything anymore. Now can we have the same thing with mining and skinning and herbalism, please? That's one thing I've always wondered about. Isn't it interesting that miners and herbalists seem to think that they're entitled specifically to the nodes that they find within the instance, skinners the same, and yet DEers must roll off the shard? Does that seem fair to you? No. No, it doesn't. So I'm hoping that it gets extended for all of this, honestly. If it's got to be that way with enchanters, then it should be that way with everybody else. It's only fair. Right, let's look at a couple of these systems here. Now, the need before greed thing is pretty decent, to be quite honest with you. It's anti-ninja looting, honestly. This is amusing because a long time ago, they put in a few new loot systems in order to combat ninja looting. It was a long, long time ago now. It was in vanilla. Some of you may not even remember it. You probably started afterwards. They put in a few new loot systems such as Master Looter, which I might add never worked for the entirety of vanilla and ended up always bugging out all the time. They put that in there to stop you from suffering at the hands of ninja looters. However, they officially didn't recognize ninja looting. And the reason for that, of course, was the fact that everyone in a group is entitled to roll on an item. Yeah? If they're in there, they have equal loot rights, regardless of what people might say. It's like, if I'm a mage, I can roll on a play item. I can. I'm entitled to do it. The game allows me to. After all, I played my part in order to get that item. It's a douche move, don't get me wrong. It would make me an arsehole, but I can do it. Therefore, they didn't really recognize ninja looting as an official problem, because if they did, they'd have to take action against it. And that's really tricky, when you think about it. Would you really want a GM to get involved in a dispute over an item between two players? How does the GM know what the loot rules were, when they weren't defined beforehand? And besides, think about the extra work that would be put on them. What a waste of time. A system like this should work. I'm glad that it's only being applied to these cross-realm groups. Because, hey, that's, I think, where the biggest risk exists of that occurring. Let's be honest. When you get players on the same realm, you at least have some degree of reputation to worry about. If you keep ninja looting from randoms, then there's going to be enough information out there eventually that most people are going to avoid grouping with you. However, if you're doing it cross-realm, then, it doesn't matter. So people are more likely to engage in that kind of behavior. So I'm glad to see that that's been dealt with. That's fine. What else have we got? Lovin' the Pug. Yes, this is the most ridiculous thing. They've literally got to bribe people to take Pug members. Okay, Blizz, well done. You've recognized that Pugs are terrible and nobody wants to do them. So you're going to give them the Perky Pug pet, which I assume is some kind of dog. Yes, I see what you did there, Blizz. Very well done. Needless to say, I will not be interested in that, and will not be using this system unless absolutely forced to gunpoint to do so. Now, random daily heroics. Players or groups can choose specific dungeons, or they can instead take their chances with a random heroic or random normal dungeon. Picking randomly conveys some additional benefits. If you defeat the final boss in a dungeon, you receive 2 emblems of frost from... oh god, are you serious? Tier 10 for heroics! Tier 10 for heroic, oh god, freaking keep. Oh. Bloody hell. More opportunities for loot that you do not deserve. You also get 2 Emblems of Frost for normal dungeons. Sorry, Emblems of Triumph. Tier 9 for running Utgarde Keep Normal, which one person can AoE. Oh. And they get, after the players have received 2 Emblems of Frost for the first heroic dungeon, they will earn 2 Emblems of Triumph for each additional random heroic dungeon. So it's alright, you get tier 9 as well. All delicious. These random rewards replace the current daily dungeon and daily heroic quests. Right, so basically just this time you don't get to see what the dungeon's gonna be. That's kind of inconvenient, don't you think? Whatever. The current NPCs who offer these quests will offer weekly repeatable raid quests instead. Yeah, we all know about that nonsense. To be honest, it's not really a big deal, so I'm not too worried about that. We're stuck with this for the time being. Now, smarter group matching. This is an interesting system. I wonder how they're going to quantify this. The new system will now work to match at least one experienced player from the assigned dungeon with less experienced players. Right, so in other words, I imagine it's going to match some people with the achievement with less experienced people without the achievement. Or maybe who have only just recently done it. That could work. You know what I like about that? The reason that I think this is good is because it stops this nonsense link achievement plus gear score lol. Having said that, no, actually, yeah, that'll be fine. When you combine it with the vote kick thing, unless you've got a bunch of people on, and I imagine you must need a majority, you must need at least 4 out of the 5 in order to kick somebody, surely. Maybe 3, but 4 sounds sensible. So, if you get an undergeared person in there, who doesn't have ZOMG 12k deeps, and all item level 267, and gear score of 5 million, or whatever gear score is. What? I don't use that nonsense. That's okay. That's actually a very good response, in my honest opinion, to this problem that has been arising lately. Now, of course, if people want to be, I'm not going to say elitist, because I do this all the time. If people want to be selective, then they don't have to use this system anyway. So, it's not as if it's being forced on everyone. So that bit I like as well. Join this group or solo? Yeah, well, that's obvious. And this is obvious also. Here's one thing. You won't be able to manually invite specific players to groups cross-realm. So, if you've got a friend cross-realm that you want in the group, then apparently you can't specifically invite them. Makes sense, I guess. It's a minor problem. So, all in all, from what I can see, this is a pretty solid system. However, some people have been complaining about it and saying, oh, well, it makes it easier for casual, blah, blah, blah. Nonsense. Yeah, right, missing the point again, as always, WoW players. Not seeing the wood for the trees. The problem I've got with this is a remark that Octail made on the forums, and something I happen to agree with, is that the problem with a system like this is that it's like a band-aid. It's treating the fact that the current content is really boring, so that you have to create all these crazy new systems in order to get people to actually do it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a very good system. It should have been in from launch. It would have been fantastic were it in from launch. It's good that it's coming in now, that's fine. However, this is not going to solve the problem that all of the 5-mans are really boring. Now, if you're going to get a sufficient number of people into this content, then all you're going to have is folks eventually resenting the fact that the content isn't very good. It's only going to work for a time. I mean, what next? I assume this is within Battle Group. What next? Region-wide? When you can't get enough players after that because people can't be bothered to run Violet frickin' Hold for the 70th time. For badges, for gear they know they don't deserve and therefore get no satisfaction from attaining. That's what needs to be dealt with. You would have more people in the dungeons were they good dungeons. Now, I don't know whether or not these 3 new 5-mans in Icecrown are any good. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Maybe you could drop me an email and let me know, because I haven't had a chance to try them. If they are, then you're going to get way more people interested in that. If they're not, then hey, who the hell wants to do 5-mans? Who willingly wants to do 5-mans on a daily basis? Content that they've already done and poses no challenge to anybody. There's no fun value to be had there. Nothing. No enjoyment. And as nice as this system is, and I'm in full support of the implementation of this system, because it's very good, don't get me wrong, it's got a lot of great functionality in there. The problem I've got with it is that it's treating the symptoms and not the disease. So if you want to get that sorted out, have a look at those heroics. You want to offer additional loot, update things? Okay, well, update the bosses. Give the bosses new abilities. Make the trash harder. Bring CC back into play. Do that, folks will go back. Notice how many people continue to run heroics in TBC. You want to know why? They were more challenging and more interesting. Simple as that. No question. My name is Total Biscuit. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I've got some Nubcake news for you, and I'll be back to tell you about the race change. An interesting service, which will allow you all to play the correct race, which is, of course, Troll. Enjoy. Live from the Blue Please Tower, high up in the Storm Peaks, it's Nubcake News with award-winning anchor Total Biscuit, bringing you the news that matters, regardless of your own misguided beliefs. Welcome to this week's edition of Nubcake News. Coming up later in the programme, a shocking report into the state of Azeroth's education system. Grades are down across the board in the subjects of raiding, PvP and staying out of the fire, yet more students are graduating with honours than ever before. We investigate. But first, as reported on this programme, the Scourge Corporation has suffered a series of legal setbacks over the past few weeks. Following hot on the heels of a scathing report into the working conditions of employees within the company's Icecrown headquarters, a public inquiry has been called into a series of allegations that the HQ itself is not up to code and must be brought up to standard immediately or face demolition by the local council. The allegations came to light after a disenfranchised employee blew the whistle on the Scourge's shocking disregard for the disabled. The worker, a ghoul by the name of Mr. Reggie Boot, was unavailable for interview. However, we have received a statement from his lawyer that reads, "My client, a loyal employee of the Scourge since the unfortunate Archimond incident, is extremely upset at the way he has been treated. He lost his legs in a fight with a paladin, totally unprovoked on his part, I might add, and has been wheelchair-bound ever since. Despite his loyal service and exemplary bravery, the Scourge has made no attempt to accommodate him. While there appears to be a long and winding wheelchair ramp up to the entrance to the main headquarters building, it is made entirely of ice and has no guardrails. My client slipped off on no less than 7 separate occasions, took 3 hours to get out of the treacherous pit he'd fallen into, and then to top it all off, had his pay docked by his supervisor for being late. Worse still, it's only recently that the building has had any doors to speak of, which, as you can well imagine, is inconvenient for all non-residential employees. But it is particularly harsh on my client, who is unable to reach the staff-only teleporter entrance. My client felt it best to alert the denizens of Azeroth of this injustice, in the hopes that the Scourge Corporation will be forced to mend its ways. The investigation into the claims of the whistleblower are ongoing, but officials say that they are consistent with several other serious complaints made about the state of the Icecrown HQ. With me now is Mr. Alfred Simmons, captain of the Icecrown Fire Department. Mr. Simmons, what can you tell us about the Scourge Corporation headquarters? The entire bloody thing is a fire hazard, that's what. Firstly, about 60% of it appears to be made of ice. Now, I know it's pretty cold around here, but let's be honest here, with global warming, all it takes is one hot day and the entire bloody thing is gonna melt. I've been told their safety officers had dead rafts installed, but to be honest, I can't see that working out well. Wait, sorry, you said dead rafts? Yes, apparently life rafts was deemed defensive. It's political correctness gone mad, I tell you. You also mentioned some concerns about the emergency exits from the Frostmourne storage facility. Oh, don't get me started on that nonsense. Whoever designed that place was an idiot. The only way to get down from there is by airship. They used to run regular shuttles for employees, but that was recently cancelled due to cutbacks. Blame the recession they did, don't we all? Oh, and I almost forgot, nobody replaced the bulbs in the emergency exit ghost lights either. I thought ghost lights were powered by the souls of the damned. Well, yes they are, but they still need bulbs. We sent them some of those nice new energy-efficient ones by courier, part of our Going Green for Azeroth programme, yes? But the courier came back with his arm bitten off and a note with "No soliciting," scrawled in some poor man's blood. So, you are suggesting that the workers are simply trapped up there? Well, they had this staff teleporter, but nobody maintained the bloody thing and it broke down. Those devices are always on the fritz. Why couldn't they just get a lift like a normal person? Not that it would do any good. It's a bloody war zone up there now. Alliance and Horde airships firing cannons, fireballs, and God knows what else at each other. It's impossible to get any peace and quiet. I heard the maintenance schools formed a union and tried to get a restraining order on High Overlord Sourfang. But Sourfang kicked the judge's head off, then played a wicked guitar solo on his Arcanite Reaper. Wish I'd been there to see that. Would have been awesome. Thank you for talking to us, Mr. Simmons. Anytime, fella, and remember, kids, only you can prevent soul fires. As yet, we have received no replies from Scourge HQ, though a keen observer has noted that the PR department is located on the same floor as the Frostmourne storage facility, and that last cannon shot knocked out the phone lines. This has been Nubcake News. Good night.